Right guys, welcome back. This is question 8 in the 2024 paper 1 and it is a 4-marker on retrieval failure. You can see the question on the screen in front of you now. Describe retrieval failure and outline one limitation of the explanation. Now, on the surface of it, it might seem like a fairly straightforward question in terms of what it wants from you. Give me the theory, evaluate the theory, or give me a limitation of the theory. Just be aware that when you're writing this, the complication that you might come across here is that you actually only have 2 marks for your outline and you have 2 marks for your evaluation. Okay, and so if you have a look at how much space you actually have to write, albeit you have space at the back of the paper, of course, as well, but AQA don't give you a lot of space. Okay, so the amount of lines that you're given there gives you a sort of an idea of how much AQA think you ought to be writing. Okay, which means that you have to be really clear and really concise with your wording. Okay, so it's a brief outline of retrieval failure whilst still telling me what retrieval failure is, and a brief limitation that still gives me an accurate limitation that's well explained of the theory. Okay, so think about condensing, think about being concise. It's not something that's particularly easy, but it's something that you have to do for questions like this. Okay, so let's have a look at the model answer. So my answer is split into 2. You've got outline and you've got evaluation. That first little paragraph where you can see the 2 orange AO1s, that is my outline section. I've gone for 2 bits of detail for 2 marks. So my first bit of detail is what retrieval failure actually is. So it's forgetting due to the absence of cues. And my second bit of detail is that these cues can be internal or external, or I've gone for context dependent or state dependent with a little explanation as to what that is related to the environment or related to a person's emotional or physical state. Okay, and then my limitation is that context effects may be overstated and only come into play when the environments are vastly different, which they often are not in the real world. Because in the real world, information is generally learned in one room and recalled in another room, or something similar to that. Okay, so this is a limitation of effectively Godden and Baddeley's research, where they did it underwater and on land, but I'm not giving that information because that would make the evaluation point too long. Okay, so therefore retrieval failure may struggle to explain forgetting in everyday scenarios. Okay, now one thing I will just say before I finish up, the examiners were quite clear when this paper was reviewed that in this question, one of the struggles that a lot of students had was making their evaluation point relevant. Okay, so a lot of people went down the route of criticizing the research, and a lot of students went down the route of suggesting there may be a lack of ecological validity because it was done in a lab and the situation was artificial and all of this sort of stuff. But if you do that, you have to make it relevant to retrieval failure. Okay, because if you don't make it relevant to retrieval failure, then you're effectively just evaluating a lab study rather than evaluating research into retrieval failure in a lab. Okay, so make sure that you are clearly talking about retrieval failure, even if you are evaluating or criticizing the research that was done. Okay, because if you don't make it relevant, you won't get the evaluation marks. Okay, I hope that's all made sense. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next question, which is a short essay in memory.